Warning: the content on this channel is based on the notions of nobody noteworthy. I do not have a degree or any other formal training, so trust these opinions and their outcomes at your own risk. Please assume positive intent, as I am prone to being repetitive, and I'm also working through some stuff. These opinions are not those of my employer or even of my wife. The past couple of episodes, I've been reading more from a loose set of notes than I have been strictly from a script. Part of the reason for the script was to address some of the rambling and the run on sentences and the constant use of the word and to join three or four thoughts together. So I'm just going to slow down and try and be more thoughtful instead of fixing it a different way. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about job titles. I currently have one, and like many people, it defines pretty well the things I do day to day, but it doesn't really fully define me as a person. I'm a lot more than that one single label. Yet, that one single label is so closely knit to the type of work that is usually finds itself coming my way. I recently updated my LinkedIn job title to be re-engineerer. And part of that is to be a little bit reflective of my quasi professional personality. I'm not a very suit and tie oriented person. It never have been. I've never, honest to goodness, I've never understood it. And that goes back way back. So the last one of these that I recorded a couple of minutes ago, I talk about the fact that I'm pretty sure I'm autistic. And this is one of the things that has never made any damn sense to me at all, is why do I have to dress a certain way to be taken seriously? I understand that there are boundaries, but I don't understand why someone is taken more seriously when they physically carry themselves differently. I look to people, and this goes back a long way. I look to people like Einstein and Richard Feynman and John Nash and these people that were divergent thinkers. And I kind of look at, okay, well, how did they fit in? This is something I've struggled with my whole life, is how do I fit in? How do I know how I show up? And I think that the yearbook story that I shared in the previous one of these, I forgot to mention there are only two signatures in that yearbook. So I wasn't really what you would call socially integrated back then. Um, it got worse a couple of years later when I changed schools again. Not to continue the story, over the break kind of thing, um, but I've never really understood the whole one label thing. Um, my mother was always a secretary, but there were always a bunch of add-ons to what she did, both professionally and personally. And those are the ways I'm choosing to remember her, are by those other labels. Not that she was hands down the single fastest typist I have ever encountered, except for that IBM machine. That thing was amazing and error resistant because it was all reading from a disk. Duh. Uh, but I, as I think about my big picture job title and what that is, I think about things like influence and impact and how they traditionally get defined. I have a whole thing that I'm going to do one day for free once I've got it fully wetted or fully vetted out. But basically, it's how I think influence works in an organization. Now, I'm not an expert. I don't have a degree that says I am entitled to have an opinion or my opinion has more or less validity to it. But I do have 26 years in the same company. And I understand from internal as well as external sources that this is pretty much accurate in big organizations. And like I said, I need to fully vet out a couple of parts of it. but it really just involves some simple concepts and math, and we kind of build on it from there. So as I've been kicking these job title ideas around, I keep thinking maybe the fact that there's a label there at all is the problem, right? Like, so what? What? Nobody cares what you call it, right? It's We know what that person is doing. We didn't have to know that Jane Goodall was biologist, a primate researcher. That's probably better. I blanked on what she would probably be known as because her name was so ubiquitously associated with the work she did. And that work was reflected through pretty much her entire life. But not a lot of people fall into that bucket. A lot of people just, they're out there making contributions that advance one cause or another in society, and then they're a different person at home. And at home, beyond thinking about things that I learn and research for work and content and how to make this compelling and not ramble on for 35 minutes, I think about the job title futurist a lot. And it's funny because I thought, well, futurist, I could just give myself that job title, right? I mean, I think about the future, except there's like this international futurist society. And of course, they want money to tell you that you're a futurist. So maybe that's not the right job title after all. I'll find it though. And I want it to be reflective of the fact that I'm not just thinking about computers all the time. I have an idea, a legitimate, sincere idea for how to build a better community. And it's completely implausible. It's kind of like that whole war poem that Mark Twain wrote. I did a couple episodes ago. War poem was a parody, and he felt like it was out of its time. Maybe this community idea, maybe the window for this closed 100 years ago. I don't know, but it feels like something that we could do. We could certainly try. I will wrap up today by saying one of the other things I think about is what happens to the people after a society does collapse. I'm not saying we're in the middle of one now, but it's not like everybody just died when the Roman Empire fell. Like, I'm sure a lot of things were very heavily disrupted, but nobody really was affected in their day to day. In fact, I think somebody was telling me the Normans in Italy didn't even know anything about what had taken place. Their lives have just continued. The global situation now doesn't make that very plausible at all, but it's I think it's starting to become a little bit of a reality. I need to understand more whether or not it comes true. So thank you as always for listening, and take care.